Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Today we will talk about how WebAssembly can actually be a potential replacement for containers, like Docker containers, and how WebAssembly actually makes sense to run on servers, to run server-side code. See, if you have clicked on this video, you most probably at least have heard about the term WebAssembly. Still, we would go through some fundamentals so that we can understand what value proposition does WebAssembly exactly bring so that it can be a potential replacement for containers. Let's start from the very basics. See, every CPU in the world, whether it's an x86 CPU or an ARM CPU, executes a set of opcodes or a set of instructions we call as assembly, right? So for x86, you have got x86 assembly. For ARM, you have got the ARM assembly, right? So these instructions actually makes the CPUs do certain things that we want. So whenever we write a program, it ultimately has to be translated into a set of instructions for the CPU. So if we want to run our program on an x86 machine, we have to take that program and convert it to a series of instructions in x86 opcodes or in x86 assembly, right? I'm simplifying these things a little bit, but this is how the overview works. Now, what a virtual machine does is it can execute these instructions or these opcodes in a layer of software, right? So when you are executing all these things natively on the CPU, there is a piece of hardware, your CPU, which is executing all these instructions. But when you are writing a virtual machine will sit on top of your OS. It will be a layer of software and it will execute the instructions the same way your hardware does it, right? So you have got x86 VMs which can run some operating system like Linux. You also got the Java virtual machine or the JVM, which executes a set of instructions we call the Java bytecode, right? So you take a Java program and you convert it into the Java bytecode, and that is executed by the Java virtual machine. So get this thought out of your mind that when I say virtual machines, I only mean the virtual machines you use to run other operating systems. Like, I don't mean only the Oracle VirtualBox types, right? I also mean other virtual machines which can take any set of instructions, a particular set of instructions, and can execute them. Like Java virtual machine executes the Java bytecode, or there is the Python virtual machine which will execute lines of Python, right? So let's have all this understanding in our mind and move to the next step. So JavaScript in browsers is not always very fast. We cannot do a lot of heavy computation things, like let's say I want to build Figma again, or I want to build, let's say, Photoshop on web. I cannot do it entirely in JavaScript because it will be just too slow, right? Also, browsers are just supporting JavaScript. A lot of legacy programs, a lot of other programs, not just legacy, might be written in other programming languages like C++ or Rust or something like that, right? Let's say we want to run those things on the web or on a browser, right? We have to make some special arrangements to do that. So very smart engineers, what they did is they created a new virtual machine for something called WebAssembly, right? So WebAssembly is essentially a set of instructions, right? A new kind of assembly. So you can take a program, a C program, you can compile it to the WebAssembly bytecode. So you are not actually now converting your C program into a x86 set of instructions or ARM set of instructions, or you're not taking a Java program and converting it to the Java bytecode. What you are doing is you are converting it to a WebAssembly specific set of instructions, right? So now there is a virtual machine inside the browser which will be able to run this bytecode. Now WebAssembly can give you generally better performance because of one fact that it is a compiled language, and compiled languages are generally faster. But it's not a magic bullet, obviously, so just using WebAssembly won't make your website any faster. It has to be used in the right context and with the right code. Nothing saves you from bad code, by the way. Right, so what did we learn? That WebAssembly is basically a set of instructions that can be generated, let's say, in a binary file, which generally it's a .wasm file. So the WebAssembly binary instructions would be in this wasm file, and we would load that in our browser and we would execute it inside the VM that we have, right, in our browser. So let's say things like Figma, which is a pretty good design software, and that runs entirely in the browser without any stutter. So that uses WebAssembly in the background. I have also seen some articles that Amazon Prime Video uses WebAssembly in the background. So You see, WebAssembly is enabling a lot of experiences that we would have never imagined on the web, and that is coming on the web. And people can also use it to run some other software that is written in other programming language. So let's say like there is this database called DuckDB, which is now compiled to WebAssembly, and you can run it on your browser, right? It's pretty cool, right? Now look, because WebAssembly was designed for browsers, it has some properties, like it was built and designed keeping in mind some properties, right? So some properties like that can be isolation, like your code that is running in your WebAssembly virtual machine should be isolated from the rest of the system. It should not be just go ahead and use your file system. It just should not be able to go ahead and use your network, because that can be very serious security vulnerabilities in websites. So your website should not be just able to go out there and read something from your file system. So isolation is there in WebAssembly by design, right? And then comes portability. The same code should run on multiple browsers. So you write, let's say, a Rust program once and you convert that into WebAssembly. That WebAssembly bytecode should run on all browsers. It should run on Chrome, it should run on Firefox, it should run on Chrome on Android, it should run on Chrome on Windows, it should run on everywhere, right? It should run on every platform, right? So that's why WebAssembly gives us that standard set of instructions, that standard set of things that it can do. And we take our programs and we convert it to that specific set of instructions and we run it everywhere. And then comes speed. Now, obviously, as I said, that a primary goal of building WebAssembly was speed itself, right? Now, these things are also pretty good for containers, right? Like we want the code running in our containers to be isolated. We want the code running in our containers to be portable. So like you write a Node.js program and it should not happen that you can run it on a Docker container running on Linux, but you cannot run it on a Docker container running on Windows. That should not happen, right? So portability is a goal. And also speed. I mean, everything should be fast, right? If there's no speed, what we have, right? So you see that the goals of containers and the goals of WebAssembly kind of aligns. But the thing is, containers are heavy. It requires more resources. WebAssembly can step in and do some work that a container does, or a Docker container does, without using that much resources, because it also has some similar superpowers that a Docker container also has. So can WebAssembly be a stand-in technology for containers? At the onset, we can see that, well, there is some potential, right? There is some potential. It has the capabilities at least. Now, one thing is, a problem is that when running on servers, our programs might need access to the network. Our programs might need access to the file system. But how can we do it in a secure way with WebAssembly? Because as I said, WebAssembly is designed to be isolated. So a WebAssembly program by default does not have any access to the file system. It does not have any access to the network. So what should we do here? To understand this better, let's try to understand what happens when a normal application running on an operating system does. Like what does it do to get access to file systems or get access to the network? So it cannot actually go ahead and directly access the file system or directly access the network, because the OS operating system kernel is sitting between that. So the operating system will only let the applications running on top of it access the internal resources in a proper way. So that's why it exposes something called system calls or syscalls. So what an application does is it uses a system call to ask the OS, hey, there is this file, could you open this for me? This is my username, and could you please open this for me? So the operating system will then check, does this username has access to this file? If yes, then it will let that application open that file, right? If it is not a proper user, then it will block the access to the file. So the operating system is actually giving us some guarantees of security here. So we can understand that we would need something sort of system calls for our WebAssembly, right? So we need to give our WebAssembly module some functions, some calls that it can use to access the resources like networking, like file systems, right? Herein comes the WebAssembly system interface or WASI. So it gives us a set of functions or a set of capabilities that we want to give to our code running inside the WebAssembly VM or our WebAssembly module. Okay, let's take this set of functions and you do your work. So when you have written a program, you will not need to be worried about, hey, this platform or this particular WebAssembly VM gives me these set of functions to access networking or to access the file system, or this WebAssembly VM gives me a different set of functions, right? You don't need to worry about that. It will be following this WASI standardization. And in the case of Linux, think like this: you don't have to actually worry whether the operating system is running on a x86 processor or a ARM processor. Like in most cases, you don't have to worry about that, right? Because there is a standardization called POSIX, which gives us a set of system calls, that these are the set of system calls that the operating system will provide it to you, and you can access this system call as you want. Internally, the operating system will manage how it interacts with the CPU. So the WebAssembly VM in this case is also giving this set of functions to the WebAssembly code, and the WebAssembly code can use those set of functions as defined by the standard called WASI and access the file system and the networking in a secure and a restricted way. Now let me give an example of an interaction like this, right? So let's say my WebAssembly program wants to access a file on the file system. Now it cannot go directly access it, right? It has to rely on a function that the WebAssembly VM, which is running on the host program, is giving it a function. Okay, hey, take this function, call this function, and I will read that file for you. Now what will WASI do is it will give a standard definition of the function. Let's say it's called open, that this is the function you need to call, and these are the parameters that you need to pass it to open a file from the file system. And this function will actually be implemented by the WebAssembly VM or by the host. So it can only give the access to the WebAssembly module as much as it wants. So let's say from the host machine or from the host program, I will tell my WebAssembly program that this is the directory that you can access. So whatever files it needs has to come from this directory. This is the whole file system for the WebAssembly program. It cannot access any file otherwise outside it, right? This is similar to volumes that you attach to a Docker container, right? So you see how you can write secure isolated code, but having all the capabilities that a server-side program running on a container needs to have. So all these functions will be actually implemented in the host, right? How to open a file or how to access some socket, all these things will be actually implemented in the host, and the host will pass these functions as per the WASI definition to the WebAssembly module, right? So this is the binary that is contained in the .wasm file. Now WebAssembly has something called imports, which can take functions from outside and call those functions to have the capabilities, right? So you see how we can run untrusted code in this, right? So let's say I have a cloud company and I am giving you a machine so that you can run your code inside my machine. Now I don't want you to write any malicious code. So I will put your code in a Wasm module and I will run it inside WebAssembly. What will happen is that you will only be able to call functions you will be only be having the capabilities that I will give you. So it is giving me fine-grained control to the capabilities that a Wasm module can have. So let's say there is this WASI standardization, which has some functions to open network sockets, right? But I want that I will not let the programs running here access any network. So what I will do is I will actually not send the socket related functions into your Wasm module, and I get fine-grained access control. So you will be able to do everything normally, everything that you can do in a POSIX program, right? Whenever you are writing for POSIX, but you will not be able to access the networks. So it is giving you even more fine-grained control that you can potentially have on containers, right? So we can just write code that we normally would for any platform and compile that code to Wasm, WASI format, and we can run it on Wasm VM normally without worrying about anything, and the host will also be secure. All this theoretically gives us all the powers that a container needs. So we can see this can be actually a very good replacement for the container technology, which can put a little bit of overhead for running your program. So this can be a much more lightweight solution for containers. And as a validation of this technology, Docker is also now working on letting you run your containers as Wasm modules, right? So it will actually be running a Wasm module in the background, but it will give you the same interface that Docker has for other containers. It's not really the same right now, and like the technology is still at its early days, but Docker is also working on something like that. So some runtimes like Wasmtine, Wasmer, Wasmedge, these are example runtimes that let you run WebAssembly on the server or outside the browser, and they have WASI support in them. The tech is still growing. So actually I tried it out a little bit, and there are a lot of problems there, but like it's growing every day. And this is all I had for today. I will link some articles in the description which you can read and understand more about WebAssembly and WASI. And I also intend to make more videos which dives deeper into this topic and lets you know how all this is actually working. So stay tuned for that and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you like this video and subscribe if you want more content like this. And let me know in the comments what kind of WebAssembly content or topics that you want to be covered on this channel. And I'll make sure to take a look and try to make those videos for you. Thank you. Bye.